Coming to paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this all-new Spinsterella story. Pre-order your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer at Amazon.com and other online booksellers everywhere. Five people were wounded in a mass shooting that took place at Wilmer Hutchins High School in Dallas.
Good morning, I'm Kara Sewell, and I want to get right to new video just in, recorded overnight following the Wilmer Hutchins High School shooting. This is the suspect, 17-year-old Tracy Haynes Jr., as he was booked into the Dallas County Jail overnight. Haynes is charged with aggravated assault, mass shooting, according to the arrest warrant affidavit obtained by WFAA. Now, according to that affidavit, he was let into Wilmer Hutchins High School yesterday by another student before he began firing at students, shooting one at point-blank range. 5 students were shot and taken to the hospital, according to the affidavit, up from the 4 reported by authorities on Tuesday. You can follow us right now on WFA.com and streaming on WFA Plus for the latest on this investigation. We'll also have live reports today on WFAA News at 4, 5, and 6 o'clock.
Now, according to reports, 17-year-old Tracy Haynes Jr. drove to the campus of Wilmer Hutchins High School and approached a side door where he was let in by another student. And after coming into the Wilmer Hutchins High School building with a loaded firearm, Tracy Haynes Jr. allegedly used that firearm to fire several shots at a group of students he allegedly was having a beef with, and allegedly wound up hitting 5 students, including one at point-blank range. And after shooting all in that hallway, Tracy Haynes Jr. fled the scene, got back in his vehicle, and drove away. And after driving away, he then contacted a individual who was a part of a violence prevention organization, an individual who told him to turn himself in and basically deal with this entire situation. And after being advised to turn himself in by the people who run Urban Specialists, like Anton Lucky, who was the president of Urban Specialists, he advised him to advised Tracy Haynes Jr. to turn himself in, and he turned himself into police custody, where he was arraigned on aggravated assault and mass shooting, and is now being held in the Dallas jail at $600,000 bail. Now, the Dallas police see the alleged behavior of Tracy Haynes Jr. as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the alleged behavior that Tracy Haynes Jr. participated in, it definitely fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And Tracy Haynes Jr. was alleged to have had a beef with these individuals at his school, and sadly, because he was so caught up in his emotions and was possibly at the end of his rope, he wound up acting impulsively without ever thinking critically about the consequences of his actions. Now, Tracy Haynes Jr., according to some reports, was having a beef with these individuals and wound up believing that he was going to be killed by these individuals, and this was his motive for getting that firearm and then looking to go through that side door of the school, and looking to go through that side door of the school to deal with these individuals, when he could have possibly just dealt with these individuals through going to contract administration or even contact the police if this whole situation was getting out of control. Unfortunately, when it came down to Tracy Haynes Jr., like many teenage boys, he just did not know how to conflict resolve or think critically, and that's basically what led to Tracy Haynes Jr. winding up in this situation where he's gone from being a boy on a road to graduation to being a boy on the road to being a man in crisis. and a boy on the road to being a man in crisis because he just sadly did not know how to resolve this conflict in a way that would preserve his intangibles of manhood, such as his health, such as his safety, and most importantly, his freedom. Sadly, what happened here with Tracy Haynes Jr. is that he wound up putting himself in a worse situation as related to dealing with these individuals than he would have been before. This is a similar situation that I ran into when I was in high school. I mean, I used to have guys coming after me, bullying me about not having a girlfriend. And again, it would get so out of control that, again, I was in a place where I had to pray to God to get out of that situation. And thank God he did send, I was able to go to another school. But the whole thing is Tracy Haynes Jr., that was another option for him. But sadly, because he was a 17-year-old boy, and again, just caught up in all of the rhetoric and all of the stuff these guys were saying, all the threats and stuff, this basically escalated into a situation that got out of control. And as it got out of control, that's where this 17-year-old boy basically wound up acting on the impulses to participate in the whole code of the street. And sadly, he's the one who's losing at the end of the day, because the individuals who he had beef with, even though they got shot, they will still be able to march at graduation day if they do manage to finish school. And Tracy will sadly not be able to march, and that's all because sadly he didn't understand that there was a solution where he could basically keep his intangibles of manhood. And because he didn't know how to keep his intangibles as a boy, sadly he's now on this road to being a man in crisis, where he's possibly in a situation where he'll be at this county jail, and in this county jail, and possibly, sadly, on a road to, if he can get lucky, maybe get probation, but might possibly be on a road to prison. Sadly, that's what's happening here to this young boy. And again, it's a sad situation when I really think about it. A really sad situation, again, as related to this whole situation. I mean, this is a boy who, again, because he didn't know how to conflict resolve, basically the conflict wound up getting him more jammed up than the individuals who he was having issue with. And he's gone from having his freedom to be able to march with his classmates, and is now marching into the county jail, and marching into the county jail, waiting to go to trial, while the same individuals who bullied and harassed him, according to some reports, or the individuals who he was basically, some people saying he had a gambling dispute. Now, some people say it was a gambling dispute. Others say that this guy, again, feared for his life, but he's in a place where he will definitely fear more for his life inside of the jails than the streets, because the jails are no joke. The jails are no joke. It's a horrible place that anyone could ever want. Nobody wants to be in. I mean, nobody wants to be in a jail. But Tracy Haynes basically wants to deal with this, but he doesn't know what he's going to deal with inside of that jail as he waits for trial. He doesn't know what nightmares are about to await him, because he no longer has his freedom, and now he's gone from being under the authority of the principal in the school and his parents to be under the authority of the COs, who were extremely apathetic. And instead of having to deal with these guys who want to beef with you in the streets, he's going to be dealing with the social pecking order of Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles. And he's going to have to deal with that whole social pecking order as related to things as he's working inside of that jail, or possibly, if he's convicted, the penitentiary, where he's going to go from being able to work after school jobs where he had his freedom for $17 an hour to being inside of the jail where you're working for anywhere from 10 cents to $1 an hour, and having not to be able to eat the school lunch, but you're going to be eating the slop that they serve in the cafeteria, and having to supplement that with recipes that you spend from the commissary, making things like bricks and things like all sorts of things like the cheesecakes and other sorts of spreads. I mean, and in order to get that stuff, again, you don't really make that much money unless people put money on your books. And again, that's where Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles look to go out here and make some very disturbing trades of somebody's front side and backside for commissary items like Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, Keef coffee, Taster's Choice coffee, off-brand lemon lime drink, off-brand grape drink, off-brand grape drink, off-brand fruit punch, off-brand apple juice, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand duplex cookies, off-brand vanilla wafers, off-brand ginger snaps, off-brand sugar wafers, Hunt's snack pack puddings, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pies, Velveeta cheese, packages of pretzels, packages of prison chips, packages of Fritos chips, hot and sour pickles, big beef summer sausages, bacon cracklings. That's what they trade inside of the penitentiary for a man's dignity, as they take his front side and his backside. And usually after they take his front side and his backside, in parts of the penitentiary or the county jail, this is where Mr. Sprinkles comes in, sprays the special sauce all over the front side and the backside of the inmate who is trading the commissary, and then calls all the guys in cell block D to see this dude's backside looking like the inside of Louisiana crunch cake. And sadly, this is the fate that Tracy Haynes Jr. put himself in by not being able to know how to move in a high school. He didn't know how to move in a high school, and because he possibly didn't have a man there to teach him. You got to avoid all sorts of shady and unsavory dudes inside of that school. That's what I learned when I went to Taft High School in 1990, just to watch who I dealt with, because again, some of these dudes ain't really going nowhere in their life. Well, the mama only sends them to school because they're looking to get a welfare check, and you have to. And the thing is, this guy really don't want nothing. And again, you don't want to get into it with these type of dudes. No, you want to keep your distance from these type of dudes. And sadly, Tracy Haynes Jr. did know that. According to some reports, he was getting into it with these dudes as related to a possible dice game. And again, as he was going for the poor man's jackpot, he based somebody won on the lot, and this is what led to him having a beef where he was looking to go out here and allegedly take some shots. And again, he could have avoided this whole situation had he gotten some guidance on how to move. But sadly, he only got that advice from the Anton Lucky, the president of Urban Specialists, after the fact. Had he gotten that information before the fact and had been advised on how to move like a man, he would have avoided this crisis, a crisis as related to the situation. Now, some people want to say that this was a gun issue or a security issue at the school. It really wasn't a security issue at the school, because the school had an official policy as related to backpacks. It had an official policy where everybody had to have a clear backpack. But what was happening here is what happened when I was going to school back in the 80s. You would have guards at the front of the school, but the side and back doors would be left unguarded because they only opened one way. But a lot of students would see it opening one way, completely unguarded, and use that as a way to get into the building without ever having to check their ID in, without ever having to have your thing checked with a metal detector. And that's how he was able to evade the security. Again, these doors have been issued for over 30 years because it would be too costly for any school to guard all those doors. But what happens here is, like I saw in another case of a shooting that I talked about in another video, the students basically became smart enough to understand they could use this side door to their advantage, and that's what Tracy Haynes Jr. thought he was going to do, be able to use this to his advantage. However, what was at the school was they had cameras all over that could see the entire event. Again, irrefutable evidence that he could not challenge as related to court, and that's why this boy wants to turn himself in hoping to evade a situation where he would wind up a man in crisis who would have to deal with life inside of that penitentiary as related to this crime, a life where he would wind up in prison as related to this crime, again, going from being a young man on the road to graduating high school and going to college to working 10 cents to $1 an hour in the penitentiary. That is the fate that would possibly await him if he does not get probation for this whole situation, or possibly a sentence of a year in jail or less. I mean, what awaits this boy, again, is a very terrible fate, because had he not turned himself in, it would have been even worse, because the judge would have possibly thrown the book at him as related to this case, like I've seen in other cases of shootings like this, because this really isn't a mass shooting, it's more of a shooting all around. Now, they charged him with mass shooting, but he wasn't a mass shooter. No, this was basically a situation where a pookie got into a situation and started a beef, and everything escalated to make it a shootout. Again, a shootout where this kid, again, was basically in a situation where he did not have those male life skills, male survival skills, or conflict or resolution skills in order to know how to navigate a situation like this, or even how to navigate his emotions. Because when you're in school, you've got to learn how to navigate your emotions as related to situations. You can have the feelings, but you can't act on the feelings, because if you act on the feelings, you're going to be dealing with consequences as related to life. You're going to be dealing with consequences as related to your life that take you from being a boy on the road to graduating high school to winding up on the road to becoming a man in crisis. Now, if you want to learn how to identify the behavior of a young man on the road to being a man in crisis and help prevent them from winding up on this tragic road, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com and invest some time in the young boy or young man in your life and help them get off the road to being a man in crisis. And you can find that book in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com. You can also find it at other online booksellers in digital format like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And this book can transform your life, and you can read it on your phone or your tablet or other device and basically find the information that will help you be able to get off the road and avoid being a man in crisis. And if you want to see me make more videos talking about men in crisis, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the link in the description box to help me stay on the air and continue talking about the man crisis. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Esteem Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed all-new Esteem series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Esteem Season of the Witch Girl at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA, from the Black Boule, in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.